Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm in the studio and I thought it would be great to actually talk to you about my winter prompts that I've been doing over the winter months. So over the winter I've been intentionally sketching outside and following a list of winter prompts I created, and it's been really helpful in getting me going out, particularly if the weather is cold and it's a little bit damp outside. These prompts have really helped to spur me on. So here is the list I used for the months of December, January and February. And you'll see it's only 10 prompts, which I felt was manageable to do alongside my other work and other time commitments. It also meant if I missed a week, I could easily catch up, or if I wanted to sketch the prompt more than once, I could do so. So in today's video, I want to share the sketches I created in my sketchbooks, and I also want to share the thoughts I had whilst I was sketching them, and I also want to share the colour palette that I used. I didn't intentionally decide my colours before I went out, but over the course of the 3 months I found I was always gravitating to the same colours, and that's probably because the environment was dictating to me what the colour palette would be. So I thought it'd also be fun to swatch and share them with you. So I used 2 different sketchbooks. One of them was this one, which is my A5 moleskin. It's really handy size. It really fits in the palm of your hand. So I find this is a great one. Even if you're standing up, you can sketch with it, and it's quite lightweight. And then the second sketchbook that I used was this one from Dilutions, and it's a different format. It's more of a square, and then when you open it up you get like a landscape format, and I made use of that on some of the spreads but not all of them. For most of the sketches though, I did use this sketchbook. I just enjoyed the format of it and the dimensions of it, although the moleskin is always great because it's just a lot easier and lighter to take around with me. So let's have a look at my first couple of sketches that I did. So the first prompt was sky, and sky is great because it means that everywhere outside has sky, so you can pretty much choose any environment and you just have to include the sky. So on this side you see I split my page into 3 panels. I think this just helped me break the page down a bit, and then also gave me a focus. So the top was the sky, this section here you can see is the land, and then here is the closer texture of the grass or the flowers that were in the foreground. Very quick sketch, and the one thing that I really like about this is the colours, that even though this was the 1st of December, there still was a little bit of warmth in the colours, and I think that's why I've chose some of these here. This is like a luminance pencil, and this is actually burnt sienna 50%. I also really enjoyed putting in the seagull at the top there as well. And then the second piece that I did was of the water tower in mullion. This was on the same day, in the same session. I started by looking out towards the sea, and then I turned around and looked towards the land, and on the horizon was the water tower and then these really, really dark clouds. I'm also going to include in this video footage, actual footage that I took on the day, so you can see what my thoughts were and what my process was. See how dramatic that sky is. But it keeps changing. The wind, even though it doesn't feel very windy, it is moving along. And that's my interpretation. A lot more moody and dark. I was trying to get the contrasts, mostly done with watercolours and NEOCOLOR 2, and then the Luminance, Payne's Grey. Hi guys, so I am back inside. Sorry about the orange light, but I wanted to show you what I just added to this piece. I forgot to take some white gouache out with me. I don't always use this at all, but I thought actually it might be nice to try this today. So what I've done is I've just added it a little bit in the clouds just to make them pop a bit more, and you can see a bit more contrast. So that's a little tip there to use gouache, and I just added it with my finger very quickly. So as I said, this sketchbook lends itself to a long landscape format, and I really wanted to do a number of panels running across the whole of the double page. So that's what I did. I split my page into panels. So I've got 3 boxes, and then this one I left open. And although I knew that doing all of this in one session wouldn't really be possible, especially if I was only going out for 20 minutes, doing it in stages meant that I could actually complete a full page spread. It also gave me an incentive to keep going out to actually finish the double page. So this one you can see was done on the 2nd of December. Again, I went to a similar spot and looked at the sky again. And I made sure that actually I did have the sky this time kind of dominating my box, so your attention is actually on the sky. And then this one was on the 3rd of December when I went to Cornwall. I really love the simplicity of this one. So here is my quick study of the sky. I didn't have my watercolours or my brush, so I just used my fingers dipped in some water to get this here and smudge this here. I just did it with my finger and some INKTENSE pencils. There's some Tombow markers on there and some NEOCOLOR crayons, and what else? Tombow marker here, and also some, I think, LUMINANCE pencils. That's the view. Very fast, very quick, and also it's very cold. It's about 5 degrees Celsius, so I'm not spending too long out here. These two were done then on one session, so 15 minutes. This was on the 8th of the 12th. Of the sun setting, it was just coming down, and then this one was 10 minutes. Actually, I've just seen this was 3:30 and that was 3:45, so I did this one first and then this one, which is why actually this one is a little bit darker, because the sun hadn't quite started going down at this point. Again, this lovely kind of colour here. It's almost pinky browny, but again it's burnt sienna 50% and burnt sienna 10%. So you can see actually across all of these the colour palette is quite similar. I've got bluey greens and some indigo blues, PAYNE'S greys, and then little pops of that warmer colour coming through. But it does feel quite wintry, this colour palette here. This is my double page spread, combining the sky and sea prompts. I've been adding to it over the days, just 10 minutes here and there. And there we go. This one you may recognise from my vlog that I did. I did film this, and you can see that these colours are cool, but they feel a little bit fresher. And that was, again, influenced by the day. It was a very sunny day although it was very cold at the same time, so it kind of fed into the colour palette that I was using. And I think the increase in the freshness came with a slightly brighter blue. So the blue that I used here was a light blue, this Caran d'Ache NEOCOLOR light blue. And alongside the Sahara, I think this is Sahara yellow. So the yellow and the blue really makes it feel a little bit brighter, not as sombre as this colour palette, which feels also very much towards the end of the day, some of these. So these were 4 p.m, 3:30, 3:45, although this was 8:30, which actually is a little bit lighter. But then this was early in the morning. So again, that probably influenced me in how I was capturing the light. These are sketches that I did on the 16th of December, and the prompt was rock. And this day I was probably very distracted because I had a visitor with me on this day, and that was the day I met the robin. There's a little robin who is coming to see what I'm up to. He is right there looking at what I'm doing. He's been back a few times, and this time I'm ready with my camera. He seems to be very curious. Not sure if he'll want to take a pencil, but he seems very curious at what I'm doing. He's now on my kit and is kind of looking at me. Hello. I am actually drawing, so you know, I'm just drawing these rocks over here for the prompt today, which is rocks. So that's my drawing over there. But yeah, the robin is obviously my friend today. I had finished drawing this one, and then I thought, well, I'll walk a bit further down. And I walked further down to this rock, which is called Carriglutz, or Love Rock. And surprisingly, he popped up again. I've just moved to a different location to draw, and look who's followed me. He is back. And yeah, I think he's interested in my drawing or my materials. Okay, I'm not sure if he's going to try and take one or just looking for food. He seems to be very, very curious. So it was really nice actually to have him for company on that day, and something I would never have expected. And I think I really like those kind of things that happen. You know, they could be conversations that you have with people that you've never met before, or just seeing things that you haven't, you know, you wouldn't think you would have seen. So, or encounters like I had with the robin. And again, the colour palette on here, you can see it's quite a harmonious colour palette. I've got greens and I've got blues. Those are harmonious because they're next to each other on the colour wheel. He's back. Where are you? Okay, so I'm going to bring now the moleskin in, because if I remember, that's when I used it. This one was the prompt for tree, but I remember at the time, this was 22nd of December and it was very wet on this day, and it was also a very busy time. So rather than not do anything, we went for a coffee morning, and there was a tree inside the barn, and I thought I would draw the tree. As you can see, the colour palette is just more of a tree colour palette. It's not really influenced by the landscape, but I still enjoyed sketching this one and working in layers. I worked mostly with the Tombow brush markers to begin with, and then started bringing in the NEOCOLOR crayons. And you can see these little pine cones were done with I think it was an ECOLINE brush pen to begin with, and then I went in with the Tombow marker on top. And then I finished it off using a Payne's grey.
It's a good time of year to be in, I always think, in the winter you don't want to do anything anyway.
And then the next drawing I did in here was actually in the new year, and this one was the prompt ruin. So you can see that I incorporated some trees as well, but the main subject was the water wheel, which was very old and it doesn't work, but it was right next to the stream. And it was really nice actually this day. If I remember, it was still quite damp and everything felt quite heavy, but it was quite a nice day though, quite a nice morning if I remember, just to sit and sketch. So that is my subject, and I'm sat just on this leafy ground, and there's my sketch. And so the next drawing I did, or the next prompt I did, was stone. And this one was actually drawn again at a coffee morning. And if I remember, it was also another damp day. What's interesting about this one is that I used just my watercolours, INKTENSE, DERWENT INKTENSE paint pan, and I used quite muted colours. So you can see you just got greys and blues and browns and greens, and then just used one of my pencils, Luminance pencils. I think it might have been this one. So this is a raw umber, just to pick out some details. And then I also did use a Payne's grey as well. I haven't written it, but I know that I didn't take a long time doing this. I think it was about 10 minutes drawing, just looking outside at the barn. This is the next prompt. This was field, and I did this one with a friend I was meeting. We met at the Polurian Hotel. It was very, very windy, so we didn't draw outside, but we positioned ourselves right next to the big windows so we could look outside and look out on the landscape. And so that's why I thought, oh, it'd be great to actually draw the fields here, try to get this dark clouds that were coming in, and then a few birds I've put in the sky. And then also the way I applied the brush marks here, again, trying to make it feel a bit more like rushed, because it was like a storm outside. I used a combination of Tombow markers again to give me the shape, and then came in with NEOCOLORs, and I think this blue is a INKTENSE pencil on top. I then looked the other way and quickly did this view. There was a little palm tree that was kind of being blown around, and then you can see the sea was very, very choppy, And in contrast to actually this side, the sea did keep changing colour. This side, I just wanted to capture the kind of grey-green of the sea, so it looked really moody. And I really like this colour palette. It's, again, it just says to me, moody Cornwall. Okay, so we're quickly getting through these. This is Gate, and this was done at the end of January. Today's prompt is Gate, so I'm just catching up with my prompts. So Gate is today. I'm sitting on a rock with my foam seat pad and my materials here. So again, built it in layers, and what I really love actually is this little tree as well, pine tree. It's probably one of my favourite trees actually, and I think I probably will want to sketch that tree again. I also wanted to include more of a tree because I hadn't really included a tree outside, so that was a good opportunity to combine. And this was done a few days later on the 3rd of February. Now this time I had completely forgotten to bring with me my water brush, which I usually do use at some point. So instead of using water to blend the colours, I used my ECOLINE brush pen. And so it definitely does look a lot heavier this than maybe it would have done, and a lot greyer. But if I remember, it did actually feel quite heavy this day as well. So, you know, I think it actually probably did capture that heavy greyness that, you know, you get during this time of year. Here is today's Joy of Sketching Outside prompt. It is Path, and I chose a little footpath that's running down the side of the cliff, part of the Southwest Coast Path. And there's a little hut at the bottom with some rubbish. So that is the focus down there, and then the path is here. I also wanted to share this one as well. This one, again, was tree. I thought I wanted to do another tree because I hadn't really done it much justice. So I just prepared the pages with this dark grey liquid acrylic, and I opened it up to that page and thought that would be perfect for this scene. It was so grey that day, everything looked quite muted, and I thought, actually, let's see if I can get it to work for the scene that was in front of me. And I think it worked really well. What I did was I used a NEOCOLOR, I think it was this one, a silver grey. I used a silver grey NEOCOLOR to do the negative space. So I kind of worked on the negative space around the trees, and then start putting in some of the highlights on the water, and then finally put in some more details. I think I used the raw umber, and I also used sepia NEOCOLOR on top just to get these details of the tree. But I think it worked really well, and I was quite surprised actually how well it did work. So I really do want to do some more prepared pages. Some people ask me, do I know what I'm going to do with my pre-painted pages? And I don't at all. I never know what I'm going to do with them. So maybe if I did a few of these, I could then open them up and see which one would work for the place that I'm sketching at the time. And here we are. This is the final prompt that I did, and that was hut. And this one, you've seen me sketching this one and seen my process. So, but you can again see that there's a similar colour palette that runs through all of these sketches. This one I was also bringing in an ochre colour, which I really love, and also is, you see it a lot in Cornwall, you see it on the rocks, and it definitely is on the roofs of houses, old houses, and then also a lot of rusty chains and rust everywhere. And yeah, I just love this kind of muted, dark colour scheme that's here that I generally sometimes I don't gravitate to, so that's what's nice about actually working from your environment as well, because it kind of pushes you to try colours that you wouldn't normally go and use. So yeah, it's been really good actually to do this prompts list, and I'm looking forward to doing and starting another prompt list in spring. So if you're interested in that, I have put the spring prompt list on my community tab, and you're very welcome to follow along and join in when you want to. So I think it would be really interesting now to just have a closer look at the colours and materials that I used. I will just quickly swatch them so you can see them all on one page. So what I've done is I've just put my sketchbooks up here, and I'm going to swatch the colours in my Moleskine, and then that way I can remind myself what colours I've used. And yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy seeing them. I've also dug out these little colour swatch cards that I made earlier last year. I just took them from my sketch kit that I take out with me, and I kind of put them in their colour groups, and I think it's quite interesting to look at them because I can see quite quickly which colour groups I've used. So for the blues that I've used, they are mostly indigo blue, so I've got greys and then the Payne's grey and then an indigo blue. And then on this card I've chosen not as many, probably these two here and the grey here. So we'll have a closer look though at what I am swatching now. So I'm going to start with the ECOLINE. This is 580 and it's a pastel blue. ECOLINEs I love just to give me sometimes a base to work on top of. And then we've got a little NEOCOLOR blue. Some of these I don't know what they are now, but what I'll do is I will find my original swatches of them and I will write them in. So this one was a light cobalt. And then this one, we've got a silver grey, and got a Payne's grey. It's a light blue. So used ECOLINE 738. And I also really like this AQUARELLE colour. I remember I used it quite a bit in the stonework and also in the some of the sky, just to get a darker. It's slightly different to the Payne's grey. A little bit warmer than the Payne's grey. Then I used the INKTENSE pencils in a deep indigo and a sea blue, and also the Payne's grey. I also do have this one out, turquoise. I think that was used a little bit, but not so much. I think that was mainly used in the brighter, cooler times. So those are my blues. I also did have this set as well, and I know that I used this blue a lot. And that one as well, and that grey. So the next colours groups that we'll do greens. Now I'm very actually limited on the greens. I haven't used as many greens as I have blues, but the greens are on the blue green and the green. So yeah, this colour here, 182, Tombow 192, and then just a couple of these slightly darker. I've got a bright one there, and a meadow. So let's start with the Tombows. This is Tombow 133. Tombow 126. And a Tombow 192. I think this is my favourite out of these, especially for winter. These ones are quite bright really, and I normally do end up neutralising them by putting another colour on top of them. Also got this green and this one. This is a cobalt green 182 and a luminance moss green. See how similar that is to the NEOCOLOR there. I do like pairing up similar colours but in different mediums. And then this green, leaf green in the INKTENSE. It's good for darker, just giving darker shade there. So you can see not many greens. And I also did use this meadow green. And this one, artichoke. Which is a little bit like that Tombow green there. And so the final group is probably the biggest. And most of these colours are actually in the orange-yellow range, and definitely in the darker end, and then in the lighter end. There is one that isn't, and that's this Sahara yellow. It's more in the yellow, but it's still a warmer yellow. So yeah, let's swatch these. This one's orangish yellow, and this was used not in every piece, but just occasionally for pops of colour. Ochre, which I really like. I've got a similar, this is a green ochre. This is an olive brown. And a raw umber. Again, that's quite similar. Again, those colours are quite similar. This is a burnt ochre 10%. Didn't use this so much, but it came in now and again for a bit of landscape cliffs. This one is burnt sienna 10%, again a surprise one. And this colour as well, which I didn't expect, but this is Burnt Sienna 50%, which I did see these colours a lot in the Cornish landscape. One colour I should have put in burnt, because this is Burnt Ochre 50%, so it's the darker of this. But again, those two work really well together, and these work together well as well. And they're great to layer up together. And then Tombow, we have this N49. It's like a grey brown. Used that quite a bit in the rock studies. And then I'm left with some NEOCOLORs. We've got Sepia, which again, that's very close to that colour. We've got a Raw Umber, kind of similar here. And then this one I used not too much, but it's like a very warm brown. Just add to those these in the DERWENT. So there we go. That was my colour palette for all of my winter prompts. They work quite harmoniously together. Yeah, and it's just really nice. Actually, I'm just looking at this and thinking, actually, that colour group is nice. This colour group's nice. So you could pick out actually different colour groups just from this. If I wanted to limit this further, I could probably pick a few out just from here. I hope this has been interesting for you to see and that you've enjoyed seeing the results of my winter prompt challenge. And I look forward to starting my spring prompts. We're going to start on the 1st of March and they're going to run until May. So it'll be March, April, May, and it'll be really interesting, I think, to see the change in the colour palette and how it changes as well. Thanks so much, guys, for watching, and do share in the comments perhaps your favourite colours and also whether they're quite different to mine. I know in Cornwall we have a lot milder winters, a lot damper winters, so that probably will influence the colours that I use. And it'd be interesting to hear what your colour palettes are like and see how the landscape influences your colours. Hope you're well, and I'll speak to you again really soon.